Advertising works because it shows people that the things they want are achievable.
From the author of the best-selling marketing series ever published, the man who made guerrilla marketing a household term, J. Conrad Levinson.
Advertising works because it shows people that the things they want are achievable. In study after study as to why people patronize the businesses that they do or buy the products that they do, the number one reason is not price and not selection and not service and not quality, but confidence. People tend to buy things or patronize businesses in which they are confident. When you have a brand, you are instilling confidence in that product. A brand is an idea about a product or a service that has been implanted to people to a point where they implanted people's minds to a point where they trust that product. They trust a brand. People trust brands much more than they trust strangers. I think the opposite of a brand is a stranger. My life had had a lot of changes. I'd had a lot of jobs. Since 71, it's barely changed at all. And if I retire, that doesn't exist, that concept, because I consider myself retired. I would never want to do nothing, and I wouldn't want to work more than 3 days a week. I don't believe in alarm clocks. I ski like crazy and hike and explore and see national parks and redwood forests and geysers. I get to do that now, and I do that. There's a famous story that I tell when I'm giving my talks about. Three of us were taking a taxi to the Philip Morris people to show them the first Marlboro advertising, and the taxi driver caught wind of our conversation, and he turned around and he says, "You guys in the ad game?" We said, "Well, yes, we were in advertising." He says, "You really believe that stuff works?" We said, "Yes, well, we believe it works." He says, "Well, I can tell you one thing, doesn't work for me." He says, "I've never bought anything as a result of marketing or advertising, and I never would." And one of our people said, "Well, what kind of toothpaste do you use?" He says, "Oh, I brush with Gleam, but that's got nothing to do with the advertising. It's because I drive a cab and I can't brush after every meal." But he buys that product because it helps him do just what it says it would do. And the brand really succeeded. But if you talk to him about, do you believe in branding or do you buy a brand name? He says, "No, I buy a toothpaste that makes it possible for me to not have to brush after every meal." Here's what I found about poker that relates to advertising, is that in poker you can influence a person by perception as much as by reality. The same is true in marketing. You get people to perceive things that don't really have a basis in reality. There's one difference though. In poker, you're supposed to lie. You're supposed to bluff. The word poker means to bluff. Whereas in advertising, you're not supposed to lie, you're not supposed to bluff. You are supposed to create perceptions, but not for the detriment of anybody. In poker, you are acting for the detriment of your opponents. And everything you're doing is feeding into what you want them to believe, whether it's good or bad for them. In advertising, I think you've got to have a consciousness. You've got to have a conscience. So you can present perception of something so people will buy it, but it better be the truth. I don't have regrets for things that I haven't done. At least I've tried the things that I wanted to do. I met an old Catholic priest who was in his 80s when I lived in London. And he said, he came to my apartment and he was so excited. And the thing that excited him is a new idea had entered his mind that had never entered his mind before. Mind you, this man is in his upper 80s. And he said he was administering confession to somebody, final confession, and the person said to, as the person died, expressing regrets for things they hadn't done, the priest said, nobody who dies expresses regrets for things that they've done. They only express regrets for things they haven't done. He says, so when I die, I don't want to have any regrets for things I haven't done. I have lived my life in a way so that I never die with regrets for things undone. So I think I've acted on everything I've ever wanted to act upon in my life. I think advertising works because it shows people that the things they want are achievable.